In my late 40s, I crossed the country on a scooter. I did Ironmans. And I played pickleball. 7 months after I started playing pickleball, I was number 2 in the world. But my desire to give has increased to find me a school or a slum where I can go introduce pickleball to children. It was like an epiphany. I just love it. Stoicism is about not what happens to you that matters, but it's how you react. We're capable of so much more than we think we are. And ultimately, we want to be an ambassador to the sport.
Welcome to episode 2 of Vegas Pickleball and Life podcast. Today, we have an inspiring story from our local Vegas resident and pro. I present to you Alex Simon.
I'm originally from Brazil. So I was raised in Brazil. I came to the United States at 18 to play tennis in college, tennis scholarship. So I ended up at the University of Hawaii, Manoa in Oahu, and was there for 4 years, played Division I tennis, was a first team all-conference player. And I think that ultimately will lead into my pickleball story, my tennis background. I lived in Hawaii, then lived in Florida for a few years, ended up in Las Vegas 19 years ago. Yeah, so I'm pretty much a local. I've been here longer than I think most people here, and not very many people have been here for that long. Even born and raised is hard to find. But I've been here and also played a lot of soccer growing up. When I turned 50, about a year and a half ago, I decided to play professional pickleball. Now, I had never played pickleball when I decided to become a pickleball pro. So the story is, the day I turned 50, which is October 15th, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to become a professional pickleball player. And she looked at me and said, well, what do you mean professional pickleball player? You don't even play pickleball. I said, no, but I think I can do this. My tennis background, I think I could have a good feel for the sport. So I signed up for, USA Pickleball. I got my membership that day. And off I was on my journey to find anyone to play pickleball with me. I didn't have a paddle or anything. So I went and bought myself a paddle and called my buddy Duke, who strings my tennis rackets. And I said, Duke must know somebody that plays pickleball. And so he told me, he says, listen, Alex, go to Durango Hills on Wednesday night. Look for this group. Tell them I sent you. And good luck on your journey. So I showed up there. My first actually rack match ever was a doubles match. It was against Pesa Teoni, who actually plays professional pickleball.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, well, maybe I'm not good enough to play professional. Little did I know how good this guy actually was. So I met some other senior pros there that night. And I said, listen, can I just play with you guys? Eventually I asked them, do you think I have a chance of playing professional? They say, yes. I think you're actually pretty good and you could play professional pickleball. So I started practicing and I set goals, as we all should. So I said, in 2024, I'd like to be ranked in the top 20 in the world for men's senior in singles, because I really wanted to be a singles pickleball player. So I said, I want to be a top 20 in 2024 and then a top 10 in 2025. So I go and I play, my first tournament, I played the Masters in Palm Springs. I played senior pro, and my first ever match as a pro was against this guy, was number 22 in the world at the time, and I actually beat him quite handily. So I was like, maybe I will be okay, Then I lost my next match, won, my next match in the back draw, lost again. I was out of the tournament. But I said, you know what, if I beat this guy, I think, maybe I have a chance. Go to a Phoenix, play a Desert Ridge, senior pro again, and I win my first bronze. So I took third place. I lost to this guy named Matthias Johansson, who was the number 1 player at the world at the time. And pretty much just singles, he's the GOAT. He wins 95% of his matches. And I lost to him. And after the match, I talked to him, wonderful guy. And I said, well, what do you think my chances are of actually being, good in professional pickleball? He says, I think you could be very, very good. So I played him again, played him in Mesa, APP Mesa, and I lost to Matthias again in the quarterfinals, made my way through the back draw and got to the final and lost to him again in the final. Make a long story short, in the last year since PPA Desert Ridge, I have not lost to anybody but him. About 7 months after I started playing pickleball, I was number 2 in the world. It was a very quick ascent. Became a legitimate senior professional pickleball player.
There got to be a story in there.
The story is practice, practice, practice.
Did you get a coach along the way?
I did not.
Just all by yourself?
I tried to hire one of the top players before I was number 2. I texted him and said, hey, would you coach me? And he says, I'm busy this week, try me next week. And I tried next week. He never got back to me. I said, fine, I'll hire YouTube as my coach. So that's what I did. I started watching YouTube videos and and I practice a lot. I have a couple of people here in town that we're in Las Vegas. This is where I live. Practiced a lot of drills for you out there. People always ask me, how did you ascend so fast, right? And I tell them, you have to do drills. Fun, it's not sexy, it's not exciting, but if you want to get better, that's what I at least recommend you do. And repetition, if you can get a ball machine, get a ball machine. If you can't, find somebody that you can do drills with. So that really is mainly the reason I was able to ascend so fast. And once I got tired of losing to Matthias, I actually entered PPA Las Vegas, the regular Open Pro division. So I said, I want to play the young guys. I was already, almost 51 at the time. And so I played qualifying. I went 2-2. I did not make it to the main draw. But I essentially, at that point, I became the oldest Open Pro singles male player in the world, which was nice, because there are some 50 plus guys who play doubles, but singles against 23-year-olds.
That's rare.
It's tough, but I am, I'm in very good shape. I train, I do trail running, I do agility training, I have a coach.
Was that before the pickleball or you always had that?
No, that was like, once I decided to go pro, I went all in, to be pro at any level, whether it's Open Pro, Senior Pro. If you want to be really good, I believe you need to do whatever you can.
The conditioning side.
Especially if you're playing singles. Singles is a game of power and agility, conditioning. You need to be fast. You need to hit the ball hard. Those are things that I brought to the game. I am very fit for my age and athletic and fast. I have good explosiveness, and that helped me a lot in getting to where I got. My physical ability is really the most important aspect of getting there, plus the drilling, but you need to move.
But were you always active all throughout your life?
I was always an athlete, so to speak. At age 9, I started playing tennis, and I played a lot of soccer. I was raised in Brazil. At around 15, very good at tennis. So I had to decide to dedicate all my time to tennis, and there was no way to do both. It was going to be one sport, and I picked tennis. I was one of the top-ranked junior players in Brazil, and that's how I managed to come to the United States and get a tennis scholarship, and have been here ever since. But yes, I'm not a drinker. I was never a drinker. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. So
sports was your drug.
About 5 years ago, I became an Ironman. I did Ironman triathlon.
That was like in your mid-40s.
Yeah, I was 47 when I did my first Ironman. So yeah, I've done, many half Ironmans. I was in good shape, but in my late 40s, I was probably in the best shape of my life, counting, collegiate athletics. Because doing Ironmans is not, it's not simple. It's not easy. So I was in really good shape. But that was like a bucket list thing. I wanted to become an Ironman. I always had my entire life said, one day I want to be an Ironman.
And you choose to do it in your mid-40s.
I did, yes. And there's actually also, my life is just full of stories, right? So there's actually a story behind that. Yeah. So when I lived in Hawaii, I had a friend. His dad was an Ironman. And I was 21 years old. And he said, yes, I've done an Ironman. I said, well, how old are you? He goes, I'm 45. I said, when did you do it? I got last year, I was already 45. I said, well, that's pretty cool. Of course, when you're 21, 45, it's like a dinosaur, right? I said, this guy's like old. So I said, you know what? When I turn 46, I am going to do an Ironman just to beat you.
Okay, it's good admiration.
He's like, fine, whatever you say. Of course, I don't keep in touch with his buddy of mine. I don't keep in touch with his dad, but I always remember that.
You remember yourself.
So at 46, I started training, and it took me, a year and a half, and I And I did the Ironman. I did, of course, several sprint triathlons, Olympic distance, which is the next after sprint, then a half Ironman. And then I did a full Ironman. And then I went back to half Ironmans and some sprints, Olympics. So it was about a 3-year journey. But doing an Ironman, only the people who have done it understand, the magnitude. It's not just the race itself is like a victory lap, because the training is really where the work gets done. So it's 20, 25 hours a week of training, swimming. I was not a swimmer, so I had to learn how to swim properly. I had never had a bicycle with gears until I was 46 years old. So I had to learn how to properly cycle. I had run, but I was never a runner. I was a tennis player, right? So I had never ran long distances consistently. So I had to get my body used to that. So overall, it was just, I wasn't particularly good at any of the 3 modalities. But ultimately, Ironman is about finishing, right? It's not about placement. It's not about how long it takes. Anybody that finishes one it's a legend. So it was fun. So then, I got tired of triathlon. I needed a new adventure. This podcast is going to go. You're going to learn things about me you never knew. So about 3 years ago, I decided I wanted to cross the United States, all of it on a stand-up electric scooter.
A stand?
Yes, like those things they sell at Costco.
All the way across America?
All the way across.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I did it. The only person in history to cross the United States from Boston to Newport, Oregon, on an electric scooter.
You went from Ironman to
scooter. Scooter to pickleball.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm all over the place. But, I like adventure. I like excitement. I like challenges, something new. So yeah, that's a story in itself, because people, when they hear that, they have all kinds of questions, right? They're like, wait, no, hold on. I have a lot of questions about crossing the U.S. in a scooter. You can just Google my name, Alex Simon Scooter. You'll see it. But yes, it was done. I had a support crew that followed me. I had sponsors. To make a long story short, I rode about 7 to 8 scooters a day. Their range is like 40 miles. And I charged them at night and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Took me 29 days, 8 hours a day on a scooter, not one day off. And a legend was born. A scooter legend was born.
Legend, yeah. You broke the Guinness World Record.
Yeah. Boston to Newport, Oregon. That's, that was beginning and end.
And you said how long that took?
29 days.
29 days. Oh my God, just nonstop.
Yeah, nonstop. Every day, 8 hours. I rode in the rain. I rode in the snow. I rode in the heat. I rode everywhere.
That's definitely a story.
I do not recommend anybody try it. Don't try to be the second person to do it.
Don't try it at home, everybody.
Don't try it at home. It was a silly, crazy idea and utterly dangerous.
From that, you transitioned into pickleball?
I needed a new challenge, so pickleball was it. And I believe in setting goals, even goals that seem so far removed from the realm of possibility. Believe me, from my own stories, you'd be amazed what can be achieved. And you have your own stories, of things you probably never imagined the scale of how things would go for you. But if you, it's the silly, cliche, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And my life is just a repetition of these things. And it's just how I live, and it'll be pickleball. I think pickleball will be a long-term thing for me.
You're going to stick with it.
Pickleball really has a special place in my heart. Playing professional has been great, and I still plan on playing some, but there's more things on the horizon for me with pickleball. There's other things I want to do.
More projects on the way.
Coaching, my nonprofit. I really think that pickleball will be the next long chapter of my life.
You mentioned the nonprofit. Could you expand on that?
I started a nonprofit last year. Basically, I wanted to bring pickleball to underprivileged kids in third world countries, ideally. So I created 002 Fund, which can be found at 002fund.org. If anybody wishes to make a donation. It's a 501c3, so it's legit certified nonprofit. And we did our first trip to Nairobi, Kenya last October. And I brought paddles and equipment and balls to orphanages over there, which was a life-changing experience. These people there play on dirt, streets, wherever they can play pickleball. And these kids, being in Kenya really was incredible. I had never been to Africa. I'm well-traveled. I've been all over Asia, all over South America, all over Europe, but I had never been to Africa. So when I was invited to go there and do some work and these orphanages, I thought it was just a regular orphanage, right? Where kids that are given up at birth or lose their parents for one reason or another are sent there. And there's hundreds of them, by the way, just in Kenya alone. But a lot of these kids is actually called orphan and abandoned kids. So these children, they're basically abandoned by their parents. So there's such poverty in Africa, Kenya in particular, that these parents, the kids could be 13 years old and they decide, I can't afford this child anymore. So they tell them, you need to leave. It's the most heartbreaking thing. So the child just has to leave the house and go find a place to be. So they go to these orphanages. So there were kids there from 0 to 17 living at this particular orphanage that we went to. And so brought the equipment. It was wonderful. And I should be going again this year, but covering more of Africa. It was such a success that this year we're planning on going to Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, and Tanzania. So these are all 4 countries in East Africa, all close to each other. I already have all the contact. So now it's just a matter of fundraising, finding sponsors to donate equipment. And, before the end of the year, I plan on heading back there.
That's even more amazing story. It's like a new project. You took something like a pickleball, a sport, but you make something more meaningful to help others.
I'll also be going to Brazil in May, and I'll also be teaching at some schools over there and bringing equipment. So I'll be going to Brazil, hopefully Africa. And, then now that people are learning more about me and the nonprofit, there's more countries that would love our help and that we want to reach out to. But of course, it always comes down to, fundraising and what we can do. And it's just me, right? But again, it's just an idea. I just said, I want to do something, and I want to help the world through pickleball. So I started a nonprofit and probably start doing fundraising events and pro-ams and whatnot. But yeah, it's amazing.
You will keep playing as a pro, I assume.
Yes, I am, coaching and I'll go back to, we can talk about my coaching and where that's going. I see coaching and my nonprofit as being my primary involvement in pickleball. I did not imagine I'd ever become a coach. When I turned 50, I decided I want to play professional senior pickleball, and that was it. But I fell in love with the sport, and I accidentally went to Hong Kong last year. So I found myself in Asia in April, and my daughter lives there. So I went to visit her, and I wanted to play pickleball. Well, Hong Kong, maybe one or 2 days I can play pickleball. So I went on Facebook, Pickleball Hong Kong, and I found the federation and some people that play, and I asked them, I said, hey, can I come play pickleball over there with you guys? They're like, well, how good are you? I said, well,
you get by.
I'm a 5'5" duper. And they said, listen, the best players here are 4-0 at best. We have 1,000 people that play, and instead of playing with us, would you mind teaching us a clinic? And I said, well, I don't do that, but sure, I'd be happy to, no cost. I'll just go there and work with you guys for an afternoon. So I went, they had a large group, and we go to a badminton facility because there, at the time, no pickleball courts, zero dedicated pickleball courts in all of Hong Kong. And all the players there, because there are no courts, they all carry in their cars a net, paddles, and the balls.
Ready to go.
Yeah, interstate. They're ready to go. It's like the mobile courts going throughout the city. So they go to different places and they see if there's an opening. If there isn't, we go to the next area and we try to find enough room to build a court. So we found these badminton courts and they set it up within 10 minutes. It's like a machine. They all have their own jobs and they set up the net. And 10 minutes, we had 3 courts set up. And so I taught them a clinic. It was amazing. I loved it. It was like an epiphany. I was like, I love doing it.
You never done this.
I'd never done it. I just love it. So, I did that clinic and I was going to take a trip after that to Bali, take my wife and my daughter to Bali for a few days. And I was going to go back to Hong Kong and say, when you come back to Hong Kong, can you do another clinic? So I'm like, okay, for sure. I do another clinic. So I went, did another clinic, and I told my wife, I really love doing this. I can see myself by coaching pickleball. It's like, you just started playing professional. I said, but I want to do this. I want to start coaching. So last year, slowly I started coaching, and it's taken a life of its own. Playing pickleball professionally, the game is getting so good. So many more players coming and training, and I'm a singles player, and I started playing Open Pro. The training takes a toll on my body. I tore my meniscus in December playing. I had surgery, and I can tell that my body, I thought I was invincible, and I realized I'm not. I was training about 4-5 hours a day between running, agility, on court, travel time to and from. It became a lot. So I think my playing days have a couple of years at most left on a part-time basis, but I don't want that to be the end of my pickleball journey. So I think coaching, I know for a fact.
Your legacy almost.
Exactly. It could extend it. And my nonprofit, I'm very serious about that.
One's almost like for profit and helping people, and they're getting value from you, and you can turn that and help other people.
Absolutely. And that's the idea. So coaching, I'm heavily into that. I do this year, I'll be teaching a lot of clinics, not only in the US, but mostly abroad. So when I go to Brazil, it's a mixture of nonprofit work, but also the Brazilian Pickleball Federation is bringing me down there for the first national tournament. So Brazil, a lot of pickleball going on there, having their first nationals. So they want me there as a special guest and to teach clinics. And I'm actually traveling the country. They just told me yesterday, oh no, it's not just Sao Paulo. We're going to different cities, and there's all these clubs where we're going to take you. So I'm going to be teaching over there. And that's where I'm from originally. So it's going to be really nice. That's in May. And then in June, I go to Italy. I coach over there for a couple of weeks. And then I think August, September will be Africa. And then I still will be going to Asia again. And I'm trying to go to China. That's the biggest market, and I'd love to go there. So, and that's affecting my playing, right? Because I did play team, NPL, which is, it's like MLP for old people, for seniors. Yeah, it's just a team tournament, and I played it last year, but this year, because of my traveling schedule, I can't play. But if I had to pick, no doubt about it, coaching is where I want to be. And I can affect so many more people, right? It's almost like my singles playing is like a selfish endeavor, right? It's for me. Like, I want to be the best. I get all the accolades, but the selfless part is the coaching, and that brings me more joy than actually the winning for myself. I've discovered it by having done both, because I thought originally I just want to be a player and be great, be number one. And now I'm like, no, teaching people and seeing the joy and helping grow the sport. I call myself not just a player and a coach, but an ambassador. And that's ultimately what I want to do. I want to be an ambassador to the sport through my nonprofit and through my coaching. I want to bring the sport to places that might never have reached, and make people better. And being now one of the best players in the world allows me to do that. And that's the road up.
Give you a platform to spread your message.
Yes. And, podcasts like this.
Absolutely.
Anyone that will open their platform to let me speak, I'm honored and humbled to be there.
You're a pro. I mean, I'm just starting pickleball, but I could already see from my just friends close by, they play a lot of good amount of video games. I could see like pickleball brings them out. And what you're saying about the seniors, we're in the Pickleball Sunset League. Our oldest member is 77 years old, and he's a Vietnam vet. Prior to pickleball, just watch TV. But now with pickleball, he's able to come out, enjoy. Literally within our group, he texts us a very sentimental message. He said the group make him feel 30-year-old again. I could relate to what you're saying. You get the joy when you teach other people.
And pickleball is such an inclusive sport.
All ages.
It's easy, can learn. I mean, you can teach somebody to play literally in an hour. They can learn the rules. They can learn the basics, serving, return. Dinking takes a little bit of skill, but even if you're just a banger, which a lot of beginners, you try to say, no, but you got to play the short game, and they just go at it. That's fine too. But at least it gets people out there, and a lot of, especially older people, that a lot of ex-tennis players. And my mom is 79 now, and she still plays a little bit of tennis, but covering a tennis court at 79 is not easy. But once I introduced her to pickleball, she's like, well, this is easy, right? So tennis players that stopped playing because it got too difficult. Now you're in such a smaller court. And so all the old people are getting out. And you just see by sheer numbers, right, of playing pickleball. And it's fun, it's social, it's easy.
That's why it's taking over.
And soon taking over the world, and I'm witness to that because I go travel the world. And people, I mean, it's not something that they just play and they're like, oh, it's like they play and they love it. Everybody's like, I'm addicted to pickleball, and the game changes so much. I started a year and a half ago, which is nothing, right? But I've seen the game evolve into speed, especially at the higher levels. I mean, the game keeps getting faster and faster, and then you have to change strategy. When you think the game should be played a certain way, you see players, especially at the open pro level, you like extreme Western grip, and then players come out and they do exactly that. And you're like, well, everybody said it wasn't possible, right? Now all of a sudden it's possible. And you talk about the third shot drop, right? It's like a staple of pickleball. You have to hit a third shot drop. It's like the hardest shot in pickleball. But somebody a long time ago says that's it.
It's evolving.
What about a fifth shot drop, right? What about we drive the third shot and then hit the fifth much closer to the net? So you see the game changing, and I've seen it evolve so much in just 18 months. So it's exciting to me, to be a part of that and try to come up with new ways as a coach, like, well, why do we have to do it that way, right? So it's almost like modern pickleball versus old school.
Different generations going through iterations.
Exactly. But the iteration of pickleball seemed to last like 2 months.
Yeah, then a new one comes out, a new style.
And I love that. It never gets boring.
Hey, that's the fun element. If the game haven't matured yet, and we're only at the beginning.
Absolutely. And as the gear changes, right? So the paddles the power on paddle is going crazy. And they keep changing the rules, right? They change the serve. I mean, there's been at least 3-4 different types of legal serve since I started, and I master one, and then they say you can't do that. Then I master the next one. They say you can't do that anymore, and they just keep changing. But I like that, you have to adapt.
You be on your toes, yeah.
Absolutely. And all the sports, right? You see other sports like soccer, volleyball. They've been around for 100, 200 years, whatever. And they are still tweaking and improving and changing it to make it more playable and easier or whatnot. Pickleball just seems to, the changes come much faster, right? It's like the Wild West. But I love it.
First time people considering playing pickleball, like what advice would you have?
Number one rule is have fun. That's it's almost cliche, but start with the basics. It's actually a simpler game than people think. I see people complicating a lot, especially beginners. It's a small court. Keep your shots simple. Don't try to swing too much, especially tennis players coming into pickleball. Get the basics. Learn to serve. Learn to return. Learn to volley. The dinks will come. Don't get frustrated.
Those who play recreational and for those who want to go pro, do you have any advice for the path to go pro?
There's a difference between going pro doubles versus singles or versus both. Let's talk about doubles, right? Doubles, which is my path, singles path is
it's a harder path.
Yeah, not that many people play singles. So then let's talk about doubles. You need to learn to dink. You need to have fast hands. The more athletic you are, the better, but it's not as important as it is in singles. You need to learn to drop the ball, whether it's a third shot drop or a fifth shot drop. You need to learn to play in the transition zone, which is probably the most important aspect, and hit drops from the transition and know when to be there, when to get out of there. The hardest shots are hit from the transition zone. So now let's talk about players who are 5'0", 5'5", at the brink of turning pro. Everybody can hit shots, but then it becomes about shot execution and shot selection. Which shots to hit, hitting the right shot at the right time.
Playing chess now.
Exactly. Then it becomes more about who can do the right thing at the right time. When do you speed up? Sliding to the side when you get this sped up on, that's what's going to make the difference, shot selection. But I believe first you need to master the execution to then talk about what to do when selection, because you can have all the strategy in the world and know what to do, but if you don't know how to do it, it's pointless. So work on the shots, drill. Like drilling is extremely important. I can't stress that enough. get the shots, master the shots, and then work on the strategy and the execute.
That would be the blueprint to follow for those who want to go pro.
Correct. That's what I would do. Drilling is essential because the number of reps, in my opinion, and there are some players who believe in playing more games and more rec, but I'm a believer of repetition. That's just what I like.
Get it down.
Yeah, and work on different things, work on grips. A lot of players come from tennis, so they volley a certain way, right? They're used to the tennis grip and volley. But in pickleball, just volleying like this is not going to cut it. You need to hit punch volleys. So tennis players, we start and we're all here, but you got to work on block volleys. You got to work on punch volleys, right? You need to understand that even if somebody speeds up at you, you can still block it and punch it back. The ball is not going to come as hard as a tennis ball. So you got to work on all the different shots. You need to learn underspin thinking. There's top spin thinking. There's flat thinking. There's dead thinking. Yeah, all those nuances. So I say, try them all. Find the grip that works best for you, but try to master all the shots. Some pro players that, they can do one or the other, but if you want to get to the very top, be able to, ideally, I think you should do both. A lot of players are punchers and counter punchers, right? There's guys who like to start the firefight and other guys that just counter the firefight. But I think as the game progresses, the players starting the firefight and taking initiative, I think are going to have the advantage.
Controlling the direction. I get it.
Correct. But it's like chess, like you said. You're looking like, I'm going to speed it up, but I know that my opponent is going to get it back. So I'm not just looking at the speed up to end the point. I want the speed up, they're going to get it back, and then I'm going to try to put that shot away. But then my thinking becomes, if I speed it up to his forehand, where is the ball likely to come back to? Then it becomes a geometry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, you got to anticipate the next one.
But then you start getting into the geometry of the game, right? Nuances, angles, right? What angles do I have to work with? But master the shots and then start thinking about those things.
For the people in their 50s, is there any conditioning they could do before they start playing pickleball?
I think everybody should warm up, right? As a youngster, I was never into warming up. I just go on there and play. I'm finding that's not the case. So seniors 50 plus, I say yes, do a warm up, do a little bit of stretching. It will pay dividends. You see people getting hurt. There's a lot of people getting hurt playing pickleball. I think the seniors are getting carried away.
Yeah.
They're feeling young again. And a lot of them haven't actually played sports in a long time, right? So maybe
people get excited, in 50s and 60s, jumping into pickleball. We don't want them to end up with injury. It ruins their fun.
Yes, and then you're sidelined for a long time, right? Because even recovering takes longer as a senior. So yes, do some stretching.
Any conditioning that you recommend?
I would say start playing doubles.
Yeah, that's good advice. Start with doubles.
Go easy, feel your body. Don't go crazy. Some balls may be out of your reach. Don't go diving, to go get something. As the paddles get faster, even at the pro level, players are starting to use eye protection.
What is your personal opinion? Do you use eye protection?
I don't like it personally. I have started training with it. I haven't played any tournaments with it. I have gotten hit in the face multiple times. I've never gotten hit in the eye. I hope not to, but I can see it happening. But if you're a senior and you don't have the reflexes of an open pro or a young person, I would definitely say yes, where I especially seniors. And ironically, most of the times that I've gotten hit with a ball, especially in the face, it's not coming from my opponent. It's actually deflecting off my partner's paddle. I used to think, no, I'm fast enough. I can block any shot that comes at me. But, either they will hit the net, right? And then you think they're coming one direction, it hits the net and then goes straight in your eye, or it deflects off my partner's paddle. So I am experimenting with it. Singles, no need for eye protection, but doubles, I do recommend it. I think I will be playing with it. It just, I feel like I can't see properly, but I think getting hit in the eye,
it's even worse. Yeah, it's not worth losing your eyes.
And with the speed of the paddles and the guys I'm playing with, they're starting to play with these paddles that have extreme power. I do worry about it. So yes, my recommendation is yes, especially seniors or beginners that don't have the reflexes I would recommend. especially if you're a rec player, if you're a professional player, and I know a lot of pros, Ben Johns doesn't wear it. Colin, your first guest, he wears them. And listen, the guy plays at the highest possible level.
For safety.
If he thinks it's important, I should think it's important.
The paddle side, the technology evolution, since you started,
it's advancing, at an incredible pace. Every day there seems to be a new paddle that has more power. See some that are just ridiculously fast. And I've witnessed in the, relatively short time that I've been playing, the paddles are getting more and more powerful. Unless, PPA, PP, USAPA decide that they're going to cap it, which I am not against. I think it's getting to a point where it's almost too fast. And it will take the fun out of the game.
What do you look for in your paddle?
It's always a game between control and power, right? Ideally, you want both. Ultimate control, ultimate power. And all the paddles promise that, but that it doesn't happen. So you're either going to get power or you're going to get control. So you can pick what you prefer. At my level, I'm pretty good at controlling the paddle. So, control issues happen mostly with beginners, intermediate players. But in my case, I like power. I like enough control, but as a singles player, I need my passing shots to get past my opponents and my volleys to be put away shots. So the more power, the better for me. But even then, I've played with some paddles that have extreme power and they're uncontrollable. So in that case, I can generate my own power because of the way I hit the ball. But I like power paddles, which are also, for people asking, well, what's a power paddle? What's a control paddle? Rule of thumb is the thinner the paddle, the more power it will give you. And the thicker the paddle, the more control it will give you.
Since you're at the pro level, you're looking for power. For a beginner, they should look for more control.
Yes, I would. If I was a beginner, look for more control.
If you could do it over again.
Yes. A lot of people are just enamored with power. So I see a lot of beginners, they buy these power paddles and all they're doing is just hitting, the crap out of the ball. But it just goes wherever it goes. So I would start with a control paddle. I myself started with a 16 millimeter paddle, which is a thicker paddle, control paddle. I liked it a lot. And what I would do is start with a control paddle, get your shots under control, and then start experimenting.
It's just like people love the fast car, people they know how to drive the car.
I have no idea how to drive the car. But it's usually, it's marginal that a beginner might not even notice control versus a power paddle. It's just like any sport or any activity that you do. The more you do it, the more you become sensitive to the changes, right?
You get used to certain things.
You get used to it and you start seeing differences. But when you're a beginner, you don't know one from the other. And there's enough control paddles out there, even 16 millimeters. I know Ben Johns plays with a 16 millimeter paddle, which is technically a control paddle. So the gap is bridging between power. Paddles are now, it used to be one way or another. Now you can find paddles that have really great control and also a good amount of power.
When the sports of pickleball, obviously the paddle is the most important, but like any other gears, you feel like shoes or...
People ask me about shoes all the time, right? I got a question the other day. Somebody asked me, what do you think of pickleball shoes versus tennis playing shoes, like the sport of tennis? And I said, well, I actually play with basketball shoes. I love the shoes I wear. They're low top basketball shoes, but ultimately we just want that advantage so much.
Yes.
So people want to find every little thing that's going to make their game better. But pickleball, you're essentially moving side to side. So I need something on a cement court mostly. So I need something that would last, number one, right? So I play with what they call outdoor basketball shoes. And I wear Nike basketball shoes. The fit is perfect. And I wear a size 12 and a half. And I have worn 12 and a half Nike tennis playing shoes. But for some reason, they don't fit the same. I like the fit of my basketball shoes. That's just my preference. I have never tried dedicated pickleball playing shoes. There are some brands out there. I know I've actually tried K-Swiss pickleball. Those were good. I know Skechers makes them. I don't. Never tried them. Any shoe that fits you well, that you feel comfortable in, is not too loose, that has a good sole that will last you, should be fine. Don't play with anything that's, not an athletic shoe. I'd stay away from running shoes. I've seen people play with them. The problem with running shoes is that they're a little bit higher And then you have the risk of twisting your ankle. You can't go wrong with a tennis playing shoe, whether it's Nike, Adidas, K-Swiss, New Balance, whatever. Those would be my first choice. And then after that, maybe a pickleball shoe. And if you can find even a basketball shoe or a cross-training shoe that's low to the ground, that would work.
Aside from paddles, shoes, bags.
Bags are easy. I used to play tennis, so I'd have to have this dedicated tennis bag. But pickleball paddles, they fit into any backpack. My travel backpack is actually this military, 72-hour bag, they call it.
Survival bag.
Survival bag. So that's I've traveled with that for a decade now. I love it. It will withstand anything. And I'm a what you call a one-bagger traveler. I don't know if you ever heard that term.
Me too. Yeah. Keep it simple.
It's one bag, and it's my 72-hour. I mean, I can go anywhere in the world, and I only take my backpack, my 72-hour backpack. I fill that thing to the brim. It will withstand anything I throw at it.
You're ready for the apocalypse.
My first tournament, actually, in Desert Ridge, when I got bronze, before I had sponsors, that was my bag. And I'd walk into the court, and the referee was like,
"What is this bag?"
Like, this guy's like you said, ready for the apocalypse.
This is a survivalist. Yeah.
That's what I look like. I think I'm in the military or something. And I mean, the 72-hour, you can pack a lot in that bag.
What about the nutrition side? I wonder what your diet is like.
As a professional player, I take care of my diet. So I eat healthy, but again, it does nothing extreme. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian or anything like that. For myself, even if I wasn't an athlete,
You maintain your healthy eating.
Yes, I maintain my healthy eating, which I think everybody should, whether you're an athlete or not, if you want to live long, and I thought I did my Ironman triathlon and it was great, but I never in a million years expected to be a professional athlete at 50. That's like old. But here I am,
You're breaking new records.
Staying healthy through my 20s, 30s, and 40s allows me, you don't expect it, but you never know where life will take you, So if I had let myself go for whatever reason, maybe I wouldn't be able to play professional sports and professional pickleball at the age of 51. But now I can, and I can compete, even with the open pros. I mean, when I played PPA Las Vegas, I played 4 matches and nobody was over 30. This kid was like 23, 25 professional players, and I'm 50, almost 51 at the time. I'm like, what am I doing here? But I hung and I won. I won a couple matches. So this is nice, and now I'm like, you know what? There's still life after 50, like you can do a lot, and you're seeing people, in their 60s and 70s still competing. And now I go to tournaments and I see people in their 60s, 70s, playing.
Give you inspiration too. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And as you see them, right, you're like, well, maybe I can.
It's just like when you were 20-year-old, when you saw that.
Correct. I thought it was amazing. I said, who does Ironmans at 45? That's too old to be doing Ironmans. And now when I did my Ironman, I saw all these people in their 60s doing Ironmans, 70s doing. Like, now those people, now they give me inspiration, right? So that's the whole thing. It's like, you want to show the younger generation that, hey, it's still possible. And
you think like 45. I'll try to beat your record. I'll do it at 44.
What you need to do is you need to practice. So when you're 50, see, here's where everything changes, right? When you are 50, you're like, oh, now I play with other 50-year-olds. They're all older than you, and you're still young. Every year is like a long time. You age a lot, I don't know, maybe not, but maybe you'll be a senior pro. Maybe you were a pro before.
Well, you're already inspiring me to be, at least try Ironman. Why not?
I think you should. I'll tell you, it will make you feel like $1 million. And the number is 0.001% of the population has, I may be wrong, has finished an Ironman. So you're part of a very exclusive group, right? So, and I'm one of those guys that I even have an Ironman tattoo, on my leg. And a lot of people, they do it. They feel so good and so high afterwards. For some reason, they decide to get the Ironman tattoo. But what's really cool is we put it all, in the back of our legs. And I travel the world. I'm in my shorts, and other Ironman finishers will see it. And they always come up to you. I ran into a guy yesterday. I was in Cabo, San Lucas, Mexico yesterday. And I saw a guy with an Ironman tattoo. I was like, hey, fellow Ironman, I got one too. And then, so you're like,
the bond is always there.
the nice thing is and it's happened to me many times all over the world, is he knows or she knows you're suffering and vice versa.
The suffering sometimes bonds people. Yeah.
That person is a go-getter.
Yes.
They know how to suffer.
So you're inspiring me to suffer soon.
Correct,
Yeah.
exactly. I know the suffering, now you suffer, and then we'll have our own bond.
Then I'll catch up to you when I turn 50. You go, bro.
It would show you like what you're capable of. Ultimately, that's what it is. You're like, we're capable of so much more than we think we are. And you do an Ironman, you're like, you know what? Yes. Not only can I do, like if I do an Ironman in my 40s, like I can be fit. Even if I don't do Ironmans, I do half Ironmans, or if I do sprint triathlons, or if I do a race, someday, I don't know where my pickleball journey is going to take me, but one day I want to find time. This is another one of my goals. I want to do a 100-mile foot race.
Wow. Yeah, you're not done.
Yeah, there's so many things I want to do. I want to do, I don't know if you ever heard the Camino de Santiago.
Yes.
2 years ago, I was going to do that. And I broke my toe training like 2 days before I was going to go. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
For those that don't know, Camino de Santiago, you walk across all of Spain. You start in France, and I was ready to go, and I was trail running. I fell, I bruised myself, and I broke my toe. And that was the end of my Camino. But it's not over. Couldn't do Camino, then decided I was going to play pickleball.
Sometimes life takes weird turns.
If one goal, for some reason, is pushed back, you find another one.
Another present itself.
Maybe if I had done a Camino, I'd never play pickleball.
Yes.
Who knows, right?
Then we'll never be here.
They would never be here. I would have never met you guys. You just find something else to do, and someday I'll do the Caminos and do the 100-miler. It's wonderful. I mean, life is so full of things to do and opportunities that it doesn't need to cost a lot of money. Hey, you want to do a 100-mile race? Just go out and do a 100-mile race.
I mean, pickleball, like in a way, it doesn't cost you. I mean, it could cost you a lot if you want to.
But it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't have to.
Everybody, wants the best paddle possible, but really, I mean, you can get a $100 paddle and it will last you, like I play tennis. In tennis, you need to change your strings all the time and it costs money. But a paddle's a paddle. A paddle can last you, for a long time. The balls, technology is getting better. We haven't even touched on the subject of pickleball balls yet. They used to crack all the time. I mean, in the winter, they used to crack when I played. Now the technology, they have balls that don't crack at all. So they could last you literally forever. Like they have lifetime guarantees. So you buy, 3 or 4 balls, you could have them for life.
No, that's amazing. You give a lot of people a lot of inspiration.
Well, that's ultimately, that's what I want to do.
From your sports background, did it shape your outlook on life? Did it develop a philosophy?
Stoicism, which I don't think my sports have anything to do with it, but it has impacted my life. Yes, it has been a big influence in me, and there's so many elements to stoicism, but it's been important to me, and I think it makes me a better athlete. And even in life, there's one. I mean, all of us go through trials and tribulations, and there's things that happen. And one of the tenets of stoicism is to wish for things to be as they are. So wish for the events to happen as they have happened. So instead of being, I wish this hadn't happened, like say, yes, I'm glad it happened, and what can I take out of it? And not just moping that it happened and poor me. Say, hey, now it happened. Now, where do I go from here? Right. And ultimately, stoicism is about, it's not what happens to you that matters, but it's how you react to what happens to you that matters. Right. We can't choose what happens to us, but we all can choose how we react to that event. That we have 100% control. And that's ultimately how you live life, depending on that. So I try to live my life. Like when I couldn't do the Camino, it was a bummer. I mean, I had my flight booked, I had all my equipment, I had everything was set. But when I broke my toe and I went to see the doctor, said, okay, Camino is out. It didn't affect me at all. I said, okay, it's like this happened. Just go on to something, like there's nothing I can do now. Throwing things, screaming.
You're just hurting yourself.
Exactly. Nothing was going to change the fact that I could no longer do the Camino de Santiago. So fine. Knew that, next day, go on with your life. Do something else. And so I believe in that philosophy.
It helps you deal with life.
Correct. it makes life much more bearable. And there's a lot of things, especially nowadays, happening, things happen, COVID happens, being upset about it isn't going to change it. So I try to use that. I try to face things, in my life, good or bad, and not let them affect me as much as maybe they did in the past. And even pickleball, I got to number 2 in the world and I could never get past that, and do I wish on number 1? It would have been nice, but it doesn't change, it doesn't change anything.
You're applying your stoicism philosophy.
Correct. As long as you do, the best you can. I know a lot of these things are so cliches, but ultimately, did you do the best you could? That's all that matters. Like, other than that, control the things you can't control and don't worry about anything else.
Well said. I noticed even for myself, when I was in 20s, I feel like I was indestructible. My life will go on forever. Until my 30s, looking back at my 20s, how much mistake I make. By 30s, I realized I know nothing about life. From 30s to 40s, I just kind of kept my mouth shut and then just learn. I just keep my eyes open and ears to the world. And now I'm at 40. I think I know a little bit about the world. So I'm still kind of like developing my own philosophies. That's why I was very curious to see your outlook on life.
Yeah. And people say, oh, if I knew then what I know now, right? But it's all a process, right? And ultimately, things happen, bad things happen to everybody. And you'll see that you are where you are because of those things as well. You have to go through them and you grow and you get stronger. And that's, as a young person, you almost fear getting old. But now as I get older, everything that I thought, all the assumptions I made are not necessarily true, and life can get better and can be more fun. And I hope it keeps going that way for me. You never know where it will take you. As I said earlier, being a professional athlete at 50, like, what kind of sport do you?
Now going across the world, teaching people pickleball.
Ultimately, it's about embracing opportunity and going for it. And a lot of people, how do you do it? And because I do so much, and literally it's just like, do it. I just believe in myself and I try it. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. When I crossed the country on an electric scooter, I didn't know I was going to get to the other side. I didn't know I was going to get, alive to the other side.
Did your wife support you on that venture too?
She did, So here's the funny story, right? So I announced it. Everything is very dramatic with me, I don't want to be that way. So I announced a trip on New Year's Eve, right? So my daughter's there, my wife was there at home. And I said, I have a big announcement to make. It was just midnight.
Oh, okay.
What is your New Year's resolution, right? So I had already made up my mind, but I hadn't told anybody. This year, I'm going to cross the country on an electric scooter. And they're like, you don't own an electric scooter, Dad. That's not going to stop me,
It's like, you don't know pickleball. It's not going to stop you.
Yeah, who cares? I'm going to cross it, right? It's like, has anybody done it? I'm like, I don't know, And so I'm like, no, nobody's done it. So I decide and then I figure out how, right? That's how I live my life. Like, first you find the end point and then I work backwards from there. So so I just decided, and then I go and I start going on groups on Facebook, talking to people, and then you find sponsors, and it became this whole, like, really this big event. Was fantastic. But you just go. When I got to actually, I had many scooter sponsors, right? Because it became such a big event. I was on all kinds of news, and sponsors were sending me scooters for the trip. I bought a trailer, and I paid this guy to follow me with all my scooters, and it was a one-man support crew. And my scooters started breaking. These things are like not very well made.
Not meant to go cross country.
And I think I left with about 12 of them. So I started in Boston. By the time I got to Yellowstone, I went to Yellowstone National Park, and it's super illegal to ride scooters through it, but I did it anyway. I was almost out of scooters. Like, they were all breaking, and I thought I wasn't going to make it. So I went on a Facebook group. I said, listen, guys, here's my story. Everybody was following me. I had all these followers. And so the scooter company actually had these guys drive scooters for me all the way to Yellowstone so I could finish my trip. So, people will come to your rescue, but it's like, it could have ended there for me, but you go as far as you can.
Hey, that's the power of social media. You get to experience that.
Exactly. And everybody, and it was like, no worries, we'll send you a scooter. So, whatever, the next day, these guys met me at the end of Yellowstone. They're like, here's your scooter, we got you, it was actually the fastest scooter in the world, the most expensive, just so I could finish my trip. And it was just crazy, ridiculously, it goes like 85 miles an hour.
Definitely not saved.
I took it to about 65 on that trip. And I thought, this is the most insane, most irresponsible thing to do. But nevertheless, the moral of the story is just keep going. You never know. Like my pickleball story is like, I had set my goals. Then somehow I, exceeded my goals. And then I was like, now I need more goals. And then my goal was to now spread, pickleball love and community and introduce it to people, introduce it to children who probably would never play pickleball or, would never be exposed to it. It just keeps growing. And now I go all over the world and I teach and I introduce it and I make players better. And
it's amazing. Your life is like an amazing story unto its own. And there's so much more. You're not even done yet.
No.
It's probably from all that Ironman training.
You do one, let's say, crazy thing, right? And then you realize the potential that we have as human beings. I can do more, right? And I think we all sell ourselves short and we don't believe we're capable of all that we can actually do and how much fun it can be. Like my life, the older I get, the more fun it gets and the more crazy goals. In my late 40s, I crossed the country on a scooter. I did Ironmans, I now play pickleball. It's like I'm addicted to just like adventure and fun things and people will support you, right? So you have sponsors that now come and help me and people want me to go places. So I don't do video game. I have nothing against gamers, but my thing is being outside, doing things and meeting people.
You're playing the game of life already. You don't need to be in the video games.
Like I said, to each their own, but there's so much life out there.
Yes, to see, to experience.
So much to experience, so much to do. It's awesome. And if anything, I want to inspire my kids and anybody I can to pursue it, and anybody that wants to be better at pickleball, let me know. I'm working on my own pickleball courses so I don't have to just be there in person, but maybe people can access it online.
Magnify your impact, magnify your teaching.
Yes, that's the goal.
The best way to lead is by example, and you're literally living that life. So it's been an inspiring story.
Well, thank you.
For the audience to get inspired out there, to ride scooters across the country, that's not recommended.
No, don't
the
go
point
there.
of the message is to play pickleball. Yeah.
Safely.
Yeah, safely.
And wear goggles.
I guess to wrap it up, did it shape you to see the meaning of life?
I reinvented myself so many times in my life. One thing that I missed in my life was purpose and giving and leaving a legacy. When we're young, it's all about us and we just want to do us and do our things. And, I think once I hit 50 and with pickleball, my desire to give has increased. First of all, I never thought I'd be playing pickleball, number one, professional pickleball, number two, or even, do much charity or even having founded a nonprofit. I never imagined any of those things. But giving, has really been incredible. So wherever I go, even when I go for my, let's call it for-profit clinics, the Brazilian Pickleball Federation is taking me to Brazil, but I insisted, I said, listen, I'll be there for a number of days, but at least 2 days, we need to go out. You need to find me, a school or a slum where I can go introduce pickleball to children.
You're like a missionary spreading the gospels of pickleball.
And I can't, I will go. I'm fortunate. I do have a job. People may think that I live off professional pickleball. I do not. So if I have that ability to be able to work on a computer and travel the world and go to these places, I will. If I'm to be the ambassador and if I can do it and I'm able to take these trips and be gone and go to the far ends of the world and bring equipment and bring pickleball and teach pickleball, whether for profit or non-profit, then it's my duty.
It becomes your meaning.
Correct. And you have to, if you can. And I don't know if anybody else is doing it. Maybe not. Hopefully more people will. I guess they say it takes a village. So my nonprofit is not, I fund it. I've paid for a lot of things. I put my money into it. But, now it becomes about other people. And there's plenty of people that do help and more people that will help. And I want to do events. Pickleball has, I've heard from people that it has saved people's life. However, whichever way that is, you do hear it. You say, it saved my life. I used to be out of shape. I used to, just drink, or I just whatever, depressed.
Or get outdoors.
Get outdoors and
get the blood moving.
Exactly. Some sun. And so even if it has a little bit of an impact, but I just seeing it, I thought it was just an American thing, but now I go around the world and I see the power and how much it's growing. And if I can be a little piece of that and help people become better players or players at all, because I work with people that have never played at all. And that's another thing, introducing somebody to pickleball. I mean, the first time they play, I've done corporate events, like client appreciation events. So I was in Boise, Idaho, and this lady, a real estate agent, has this, she was going to do a corporate event, like a client appreciation for 120 people. She goes, I want to do pickleball. But these people have never played pickleball. So there I am teaching a client, at least 20 of them said, I love it. Where can I buy a paddle? All of a sudden, you took 20 people that maybe didn't exercise or didn't do something or didn't, and now they're playing pickleball. So it's an awesome feeling.
The people will get pulled by your enthusiasm.
I hope they do. It's a wonderful sport, has done wonders for me, and I'm sure it will do. It's already doing and will do wonders for hundreds of millions of people. I'm certain of it. There's already tens of millions playing just in the United States.
In your perspective, since you're at a pro level, how do you see the pickleball market?
It's going to be a big market. Everybody in pickleball is like a startup.
Ah, good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like a startup.
It's like a startup. All the places, that are building courts and rental courts, everybody's a startup. Nobody's been in business for 10 years. So everybody's trying to figure it out. Where's the money? Where's their opportunity? There's hundreds of paddle companies out there.
Lost track.
Everybody is starting their own paddle company. The market's going to grow. Pickleball is not a fad. People thought it was a fad, but it's not. And you see the number of courts. I was in Cabo San Lucas, as I told you. The number of courts they're building there is just incredible. Everywhere you look, there's new pickleball courts, and you see counties and cities now, their budgets are going towards pickleball. I imagine it will be an Olympic sport. Maybe not even next 8 years. Maybe in the next 8 years, maybe 2 Olympics from now. But it's here to stay. Just everything about pickleball, the ease to play. You can put 4 pickleball courts inside a tennis court. 16 people versus 4 playing in the same amount of space. You can play it just about anywhere. I see in the Philippines, people play on the streets. When I was in Africa, people play in parking lots. Like all you need is a net, paddle balls, and painter's tape, and in 10 minutes you have a court ready to go. So not having a dedicated pickleball court is not stopping anybody from playing in Cuba. I've seen pictures of people playing over there. These kids play on the streets, cobblestones. Yeah, maybe the ball won't bounce, but it doesn't stop them.
As long as you have the will.
As long as you have the will, pickleball is easy to play. So it's here to stay. The market's going to grow. Your podcast coming into the fold.
I'm a startup too.
Yeah, we're all startups, but I'm sure you'll make your mark, and it's just a very exciting time. If anybody wants to find what I'm up to, and follow me online, my Instagram is at Alex Simon PB for pickleball. So my name, PB, and you'll see a lot of pickleball players. They always end their usernames at PB. So if you start seeing there, like, why is everybody suddenly so-and-so PB? But yeah, so Alex Simon PB is my Instagram. That's the best place to follow me. I'm active on there. You see all my pictures on my trips, whatever, anything I'm up to, you see it on there. I'm working on a YouTube channel, which will be my go-to place, and my lessons and, my courses will all be on there. That's work in progress. You can also follow me at facebook.com, Alex Simon PB. You can go to my website, which has some information. It usually has my schedule, my trip schedule. That's alexsimon.com. If you want to help out or make donations to my nonprofit and see what we're up to, also on social media, it's 002 Fund. It's like the number 002 Fund. The username for Instagram, that's the best place to follow us. And then 002fund.org is the website.
Sounds good. So now everybody knows where to find Alex to show support. And if you're in Vegas, stop by VIP of Vegas Indoor Pickleball. You'll be treated as VIP here.
I don't do a whole lot of lessons and clinics, but if I ever do, it's here. So you might run into me on the court. Make sure you say hello.
Remember to hit like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. This episode is brought to you by Vegas Indoor Pickleball. Thank you for listening. Alex showed us what it means to live fully and give back. If you have unwanted paddles, head over to 00funds.org to donate used paddles for a cause. With your likes and follows, we're able to bring you more incredible stories. Meanwhile, check out more exciting podcasts on our channel or click on this next video.